And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ, and sadly, Kent is running a little bit late, so we'll get him into the show here shortly. But in the meantime, we are joined by our guests, Joel Trey and Frank from Apache Solutions. And somebody forgot to silence their cell phone. Frank, Trey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
All right.
Good, doing real good.
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Silence your goddamn phone.
It's all you, man. It's all notifications saying, hey, you're live.
I'm good. It's not me this time.
No, that's awesome. So real quick, before we get into tonight's discussion, with it being June 30th, this is the last day for the donations from our t-shirt sales. So if you head on over to Teespring, the link is down in the description, and purchase a shirt from the Sling'N podcast storefront, all proceeds from the month of June will be going to Racheal's Rest, which is a charity that, of course, was brought to our attention earlier this month. Fantastic cause, and we're happy to contribute to it. So get out there, buy those shirts so we can increase that donation to Racheal's Rest. Also, links for Racheal's Rest are in the description if you'd like to go learn more about that. Now, before we get started into tonight's topic, which of course is, frankly, us judging Kent's Everyday Carry Essentials or CCW Essentials course, like a bunch of Catholic mothers, I think we need to talk about something that's kind of been in the news lately, at least been hitting the waves in social media. It's certainly been hitting the local affiliate news organizations, but they're colloquially known as the Karen and Ken. And if you're not familiar with this story, there was a Black Lives Matter protest that was moving to go protest outside of, I want to say it was the mayor's house. It was certainly a local government official that was apparently housed in a gated multi-million-dollar community. The protesters burst through the gate, or broke the gate, allegedly, and that pretty much dumped them right into the property of this couple, who then proceeded outside armed with an AR-15 and a handgun and defended their property and their lives from the mob of protesters. Now, if you haven't seen the video, I encourage you guys to go watch it. There are certainly dozens of YouTube channels that have been covering this issue and covering kind of the synopsis and the developments that are coming from it. But it's cringeworthy to say the least.
Yeah,
so
big time.
Yeah, so guys, we were talking about it before we went live on the show, and I'd really like to kind of get your thoughts on it.
Well, I guess I'll kick it off. It's similar to like what we were talking before the show. It can definitely go both ways, right? So it's, you see how they're handling, their firearms and stuff like that. I'm in full support of, their choice to use Second Amendment to, defend their home and property. But, you can tell that there's not much training there, if any, so looking at that like, ooh, yeah, that's hurt me a little bit as far as, how they're treating, these particular firearms, fingers, buried on the trigger, stuff like that. But at the same time, they're using that, that right, their ability to defend their property, regardless of training or not. So it's kind of a, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It the whole time, I think every person that considers themselves a professional in the firearms industry, be it, responsible self-defender who's actively seeking training and trying to better themselves, or even a professional firearms instructor, and every level in between those two, right, saw this and just their cringe factor got cranked up to 11.
Yeah. Tim just said in the comments, that's what the average concealed carry citizen looks like. He's absolutely right. Especially the ones that are down around us, North Carolina, it's a checkbox. You got to check, go get my concealed carry. Well, where do you learn to go shoot a gun? You go take concealed carry class. That silly idea, that's not at all what it's supposed to be, but that's kind of what it's turned into. The actual class is called Laws Governing Deadly Force. So it's all about, the laws governing, your use of, deadly force, your use of, to use a handgun or, deadly force to defend yourself. And, we in the past have seen a lot of people have come through and said, yep, this is what I need to do. This is what I want to, to take this class to, go get a gun or whatever. Doop, checkbox done. They go to some concealed carry instructor and they'll go, yeah, pay me $100 and it's yours, that kind of thing, whether they do the class right or not. That's the unfortunate truth, especially in our area. Now, I think we definitely, as far as Apache goes, we pride ourselves on, changing that standard a little bit. So the DOJ kind of sets it up, and North Carolina Department of Justice sets it up that says, hey, these are your guidelines. You need to be able to shoot, X amount of shots from X amount of distance at least this size target. North Carolina Department of Justice recommends like the B-27, big 2 foot by 3 foot piece of paper, huge silhouette. 21 out of 30 rounds suggested from the 3, 5, and 7. But at the same time, they give us, the concealed carry instructors the liberty to change that up just a little bit, and the liberty to, change the actual target and things like that. So we've decided at Apache to really tighten down that standard, in our case. So now we're using the handgun combatives thoracic cavity. So now you got to do the same thing, same shooting qual, 21 out of 30 rounds from 3, 5, and 7. But I'll keep them all within inside that thoracic cavity. And so, but by doing that, we feel much better. We feel more confident in the people that we're signing off. Just saying, hey, you can go get your concealed carry, that kind of thing. Not that we want to prohibit anybody, but we want to help change our community and help change that mindset moving forward, so that you're not just going, hell yeah, man, you can have a gun. You can go ahead and do all this stuff all you want. Boom, there you go. We're kind of on their mindset of, get a little bit of training at least. Keep those hits, relatively central. And God forbid you ever did need to use it. I don't want you sending that far, low left round that you shot at the bottom of the B-27 target that may have passed in somebody else's concealed carry class. I don't want that stray round to go in my dot or something like that when we're at the mall.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we have to look at the reality of the situation. Should they have gotten more training? Absolutely. And I'll get into the things that I observed that they did wrong, because I've watched the video numerous times. But at the end of the day, nobody actually got hurt. Their house wasn't messed with. Nobody broke into their home. I would say that their lack of training and their ownership, the exercise of their Second Amendment was certainly effective and helped it out. It was kind of funny because you could almost, the typical chants from protests like that, go along the lines of, like a hell no, we won't go. And then you listen to the audio on that video and everyone's like, move along, keep going. Let's forget about this one. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of funny how that changed. It adjusted their collective attitude, which I think is pretty impressive.
Right.
But with that being said, some things that I saw them do wrong. Okay. Trigger finger discipline, keeping their finger off the trigger, of course, which is especially problematic because the husband and wife couple kept flagging each other. I can't count how many times, more specifically the wife, who I'm assuming is his wife, but everything that I've said indicates that is the case. But his female partner that was there on, helping defend the home, had her muzzle lined up directly with his head. And hey, more power to you. Exercise your Second Amendment right. But we would be disingenuous if we, regardless of whatever position you have on, the Black Lives Matter movement or the defund the police movement or any of that other garbage that's going on right now, we have kind of a resounding theme in 2020, aside from wear a mask, to we need to start policing our own. That goes for cops. That goes for, the local citizenry. If you live in a crime-ridden area, regardless of your racial demographics, hey, if Jim Bob over on the corner is selling meth or doing dumb shit, then hey, police your buddy. Hey, dude, we don't like you being in this neighborhood. We don't like you selling meth. Keep this up. We're calling the law on you, whatever have you. Not suggesting that you do exactly those things, but you see, you kind of get my point, right?
Yeah.
If there's a bad cop amongst the ranks that we know to be racist, and I don't believe in systemic racism, but individualized racism certainly exists.
Yeah.
And, hey, it's on the other cops that are not racist to out him and not let him or her, I should specify, to continue to serve on the force, right? It's the same thing. If you've got and it goes with every profession.
Right.
So we would be disingenuous as gun owners and people that train to a certain level of professionalism and proficiency to not police our fellow gun owners. I mean, if anything, I'm more ashamed at whoever they might call friends, because that there's a high probability that more than those people that owned those firearms knew that they had them.
Right.
Surely they've been to the range at some point. Hey, is it really going to hurt anybody to say, hey, man, after you observe some sloppy behavior, hey, I'm going to a class next weekend. You want to come with?
Right.
Or, hey, my buddy's a firearms instructor. You should probably give him or her a call.
Well, I'm going through and reading some of the questions in chat and stuff, and Tim over at Apache said that in the end, should we as a gun community praise that, or should we demand more out of each other? As far as I'm concerned, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. It's one of the things where I don't necessarily know if it should be praise. Praise may not necessarily be a good term to describe it, but I absolutely support their right and their ability to go and use a firearm in that fashion, to deter. But at the same time, absolutely need to help, and reinforce the community and help demand more out of, our fellow gun owners or, other members of the gun community to make them, better citizens overall.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the duality of the problem, right? We all want to be able to be pro-Constitution and pro our, constitutional rights to every capacity. But at the same time, there's a level of personal responsibility that we have to promote amongst our peers and colleagues. So it's really kind of the way it goes. So, Rodney, you are making a point. So Rodney White mentions in the chat, dude had excellent trigger discipline, correct amount of intensity to take control of the situation, and then rendered the rifle unusable without considering adding to his own firepower. True. I did not see too many issues with the trigger finger discipline from him, but hers was abhorrent, and we don't need that. But that really is a great segue into our topic for tonight, and that is Kent's Essentials of Concealed Carry class. And by the way, Kent, thanks for being late.
Sometimes being essential has its pitfalls. Tonight was one of those times. I was busy at the pink linen polo store shirt store, helping people figure out how to get pink linen polo shirts underneath battle belts and plate carriers and shit.
So those double layered belts from Blue Alpha Gear come in.
Right. Sorry about that, everybody. I was indisposed somewhere else using my computer, and it got stuck in the middle of an operation. So I couldn't leave, and I couldn't use my computer to do this. But here I am.
Yay. Well, we've got Kent back, so we can get on with tonight's topic. So, Kent, why don't you break it down for the folks listening at home exactly what your class that you ran this weekend consists of?
So, Concealed Carry Essentials is my version of the 10 things that I think an armed citizen should be able to accomplish correctly in order to carry a gun in public. It is not a state-mandated CCW class. It's not a permit course. It's nothing like that. It's skills and drills, everything from the basics, grip stance sights, all that stuff, to a, probably 2/3 of a day or better lesson on practical application stuff, with the essential lesson plan in mind at the end of the day being you are not a hero, and boy, wouldn't this suck to have to do for real, right? So that's the point is not to turn people into hardcore gunfighters. The point is to show them how woefully inadequate their pistol skills really would be in a couple of key scenarios. So I'm not teaching 3-man CQB tactics or single man entry into a structure or any craziness. But I do go over cover and concealment and a couple of things in the POI to show folks just how tough it really would be to move around structure with a handgun, because I think people really, really get that wrong often. So that's my little elevator pitch. But I'm really here to hear these guys and their feedback, less than try to self promote or whatever. So there were no $20 bills exchanged. There was no payments or bribes. Well, there might have been that one $20 bill in exchange.
Yeah, but I missed it like by a mile. So there's.
I tried to give away a $20 bill.
Yeah, like he tried to give it away too. Like
You couldn't even give away money.
No, I didn't try to give it away. I flubbed my headshot, and it took hours. It felt like I have like a 175 headshot at 20 yards, and what I had was a 2-something.
Yeah, it was like 230 or something like that.
Something garbage.
Yeah.
Barely in the A zone, but nobody beat my time or the A zone. So
It was bad.
The one drill we couldn't do.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, so 20 bucks is $20. That's I'm sorry, I couldn't not let it go. But anyway, so Trey, I'd like to hear from you, man. So I don't want to say you are new to this, but you are the newest of the team, right? So I'd really like to hear from you what you thought about Kent's class, what you might have learned from it, and things you might have learned to work on to take home with you.
Yeah, I thought it was mostly pretty similar to Apache's EDC class in a lot of ways. The biggest benefit for me was to hear a lot of information that is similar, just repeated differently through somebody else's lens. And that'll make things that he's been yelling at me for a year now just click, and so that was super helpful. There was also some new stuff I've been introduced to once, the one time I trained with Kent, and Kent was able to really help me completely understand, especially like the wave. That Kent made that super clear for me this weekend, and it made an instant difference. So it was awesome just to get an instant improvement that easily. And then with this welcome to Walmart, definitely was showing me I had how target focused you can get in a stressful situation. He set up one target was almost impossible to get to. It was down a fatal funnel with windows on both sides in the fatal funnel. I had no idea how to do that, but I knew there was a guy on the left side behind another side of the wall and behind the window, and I couldn't figure out how to get to it. So I just crawled above the window and Kent started giggling at me like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" But
the things that happen on the range that should have been recorded.
It should have been recorded. But to hit that target from the angle I was trying to hit it from, I would have to go way too far forward on the berm and started almost coming back towards bystanders, and I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just target here. I'm gonna shoot the target, and luckily Kent was there and stopped it all. But it was an eye-opening experience to just see how easily you can just get so fixated on one little thing and forget about everything else going on around you.
Gotcha. So we have to pause for a moment because Kent has to explain to the chat folks exactly what his welcome to Walmart spiel is.
It's hell. That's what welcome to Walmart is. Welcome to Walmart is just hell.
So I'm not going to give away the whole thing because very much of this class is derived from somebody else and is my interpretation on other things, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome to Walmart is like originally my idea, and I've not seen it done anywhere else. But what I will say is it's I'll get a little geeky with you. Star Trek, right? Like the Kobayashi Maru, the unwinnable scenario. There's no possible way to do everything perfectly.
Right.
So just the premise behind Welcome to Walmart is you're in a large, crowded structure full of known and unknown, and you need to move into or out of it with a handgun. And I'm going to leave you with that. So if you could picture being in Walmart and the proverbial balloon goes up, right? There's people that need shot. There's maybe people that don't need shot, and you need to be able to tell the difference and move through the structure and use cover and use muzzle discipline and. The lesson behind this, again, is not to turn you into steely-eyed gunfighters, It's to make you really think twice before you skin out that Glock and go to work in public.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the lesson. The lesson is, holy shit, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Maybe I should rethink my plans. That's all it is. It's just a little bit of a manly gut check. And by Lord knows, I don't run it perfectly every time either. I don't think I ran it perfectly this time. I ran it pretty well, but there's always something you can go back to it and do. The way it's structured and the way it's set up, you can run it 100 times and see 105 different things.
Right.
So that's the idea behind it.
And I definitely am not going to give away any keep Kent's secret sauce here. It was very, very well laid out, very well put together. Drill is as unrealistic as it may seem. That's exactly what it was doing. I mean, it was a drill. It was supposed to kind of force you to make decisions and force you to apply the skills and some of the stuff that you learned throughout the course of the class, or a lot of the skills that you learned throughout the course of the class, and apply that in not a crazy dynamic situation, but it's definitely unrealistic, but a situation that makes you stop and go, ooh, that's a bad idea. I can't do what I thought I could do, first chance off. So that was it was very well put out. And something else, and something that absolutely made it what it was how, made the drill what it was how Kent introduced how we were going to do it, and the up talk of, hey, this is not really a scenario, but this is what we're going to do. This is how serious it is, things like that. And that really got everybody's mind in the right place. And it really got, some nerves. We were back there while Kent was back there, setting the target up. We can't set the targets up. We can't sit there and game it and watch what's going on. We had to turn away, and we were all, for the most part, we're all looking the opposite way. We're all just sitting there, talking back and forth and joking about it. And man, you a little bit of anxiety starts welling up in you. You're like, man, I have no idea what it's about.
Walking out there, I didn't see what he had set up to me until he told me to load and make ready.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wow.
Because you walk down with,
what is this?
Yeah, you walk down with your head down, and then as soon you get led out there, and then he's like, all right, load, make ready. Sit there and load, make ready, and then he calls thread or the buzzer, and you're like, oh shit, what am I doing here?
Literally, to a T, every person I've ever put through that, I either give them a beep or an up or a threat or something, and they're like, and then they have that moment of oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's a 3-second first shot time, because it's a 1-second draw, but it's a 2-second realization of holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No joke. Yep.
Yeah. So first of all, I think that's a fantastic scenario, because it really does paint arguably one of the worst situations that any one of us could find ourselves in. We all train on the range or on the flat range. It's usually us versus one target, maybe 2 or 3 targets, but you can clearly see everything. Obviously, with his situation, it's going to be, I'm assuming he's going to go above and beyond that, but you can see everything. There's a clear line of sight. Maybe we work on some things where we're we're mocking an intruder into the home. It's very, very 2-dimensional, right? When you take into account, take notice of where you go throughout your day. When you are in a store, gas station, big box store, retailer, whatever the case might be, just stop for a second and look around, and I want you to envision, okay, if 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 people broke loose and started losing their shit in this location, what would that kind of look like?
So I'm going to derail us just for a quick second. Day after day one, we had a little snafu where we had to take one of the people that came to take the course, affectionately named Biscuits, back to his car. We had some transportation issues. We no big deal. Can't offer to drive, all that fun stuff. Where I volunteered him, he was driving, that kind of thing. And this guy, super nice guy. First time I met him was that day, et cetera, goes through, and Okay, man, where's your car? He picks the address up and he starts telling us where to go. Excellent. I'm in the back seat of Kent's truck, all huddled up next to Joel Trey over here, and Kent's up there driving, and all of a sudden, Kent and Biscuit sitting there going back and forth, and Kent goes, 12th Street. And he looks up at me in the rear view mirror, and then all of a sudden, like, everything changed. Like, apparently we're in a bad side of town, and not at all anywhere near where Biscuit was supposed to be. Like, completely different town. Like, he just put the address in, and it was like a main street or something like that.
Biscuit just picked 12th Street and went to 12th Street, not the right picking 12th Street, just a 12th Street.
A 12th Street, right?
A 12th Street. Just that one looks good. Here we go.
Right. So anyway, we're he's sitting there talking, and all of a sudden Kent just looks up in the rearview mirror, and he's all like big-eyed. I'm thinking, oh shit, something's happening here. And all of a sudden you see everything about Kent's posture, his body language, freaking seatbelt off, everything changed. And I'm like, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable here. So something's about to go down. So
what is it? Like, what is it, boy? Did Timmy fall in a well?
Yeah, exactly. Kent's the proverbial dog whistle, if you will, was just blown loud and clear. And I'm sitting there going, what am I looking for? Like, what's going on here? And again, apparently we were in a bad side of town. Had no idea. And again, we were like an hour away in the opposite direction of where this dude took us the first time. Yeah, I mean, it was hilarious, but at the same time, we're sitting here talking about situational awareness and having bad stuff happen. As soon as that little tick mark triggered in Kent's eye, because we had no idea. We were right in the back of the truck, joking, and everything changed. I mean, I'm sitting back. I'm in the back, looking around and commenting and commentating on what Kent was doing. His ABD tactics, and just some stuff that he was very intent on working on, and he was in his own little world. I mean, we're sitting there talking to him, and he's like, "Huh, what? Yeah, okay." Just doing his own thing. It was this to a T. Like, that was his little welcome to Walmart in the real world. And poor Biscuits, man, he's up there like, I don't know what to do. Like, what am I doing?
What do I do with my hands?
What do I do with my hands? Oh, it was good.
Yep, and there the name Biscuit was born.
And the name Biscuit was born. Yeah.
Fair, good times. So, I guess here's the question: if this is the culminating event, so this is where we're going to judge Kent. If this is the culminating event or the culminating drill from his Essentials of Concealed Carry course, or Concealed Carry Essentials, I'm sure I keep butchering that. Do you feel that you were adequately prepared for his quintessential Kobayashi Maru after having paid attention to and partaken in his class that weekend?
Just let me clarify, if we were prepared for his drill of the Kobayashi Maru. Okay.
Yeah. If you get to the welcome to insert big box store name here.
Right.
That's the culminating event. Do you feel that he did an adequate job in conveying the fundamental skills and concepts to set you up for success in the unwinnable scenario?
100% yes.
Yeah, I think it shows. I mean, we had Biscuit there, and Biscuit was pretty much a brand new shooter, and I think he did pretty well running through it. Right. So, with very little training in the beginning, Kent was able to get him to perform well through the Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to keep referencing this dude Biscuit. No real names, one of them kind of things. But he showed up, and I mean, I want to say he was probably. Throughout the course of the entire class was the most what do you want to say well, not just most green, but he was the most changed. Like, he learned the most. He went from like never holstering a firearm before to running this Kobayashi Maru, the welcome Walmart drill at the end of the day, dude, and he slayed it. He did so good. It was really neat to be able to see someone on both spectrums, right? So you saw Biscuit, who was very new, very green to this, and he was shooting right along and keeping up with, and
he beat us at how he won that class. What was the drill on that?
One shot on target. One shot on target.
From distance?
From distance.
He beat us.
Yeah, he beat us. And then so anyway, we got someone that's really new that was in that class, and you got someone that was more on the more experienced side, right? Like Joltre over here. So I got to see like the whole like rainbow of somebody that was green and somebody that had a little bit more experience, but everyone walked away from the course with something. There was definite better progression, right? There's a lot of progression. It was neat. And but like Trey said, we're Trey and I are sitting there trying to go like, bats out of hell, go as fast as you can, got to beat that time. And then so you miss your target altogether. And then Biscuit just goes flop, and then he wins. So it's one of the things where speed's not necessarily everything. Sometimes it's just pure slow down, and it's just pure accuracy. And he did good. There's a little bit of
he might have said "thwop" when he drew. I think he actually said "thwop" as he drew.
He probably did. Thwop.
Oh, Lord have mercy. No, that's fantastic. See, it warms the subcockles of my heart to know that my best friend and co-host is, doing the Lord's work and keeping people prepared for an unwinnable scenario.
I don't know about all that. It's going to be sweet. Joel, tell me your one constructive piece of feedback. I want to hear the thing that you really wish would change about the class, please.
I think I wanted to see more explosive movement.
Okay.
Just a little more zig and zag. Because that was, I think, a question me and Frank both left with, was we're trying a new stance out, and we were unsure about how we're going to be able to move from that stance. And I would have liked to have that question answered before we left. And so some explosive left, right, up, back, kind of whatever you could throw in there.
Yeah, that's we were talking about that earlier today. On a car ride home a little bit more. A lot of the movement and stuff like that we did, while it was incredibly safe, there really wasn't much hurry, right? So a lot of the stuff that we did was we're paying very attention to our foot placement and very, very close attention to the movement itself, and not so much get from point A to point B as quick as you can. It was get from point A to point B as we're engaging on, this running target, multiple targets, but it's to simulate a running person or something like that. So, I think that's a great one.
So I wrote down you had verbalized that to me before, but you missed the word explosive. So I just wrote explosive in my notes.
Yeah.
Heard, understood, can do better.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
this isn't going to be a stroke Kent moment. Like the class was very well put together. In the beginning, I was like, I'm not sure. I'm keeping quiet, just observing, and because like I said, Apache puts on something that completely different but similar in many aspects. The information, I think I ended up describing it to one of the students that was there on the second day. We were like, look, Kent's giving you a tiny piece of the pie, right? For each little section. He's saying, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. I mean, he's going through the whole thing. And then by the end of the day, he's just saying, hey, look, you need to come out and you need more training. Like, you need to do more. Well, all I'm doing is introducing you to the bare minimal 10 things that Kent thinks is important for his, concealed carry, or for concealed carry essentials. And what's neat is you can take as much from those little pieces of pie, or as little from those pieces of pie as you want, but you have the entire gambit that then you can go, okay, well, this little tiny sliver of pie that Kent gave me, I want a lot more of this. So then you go out and you get a private with him, or a similar instructor, and you go, okay, cool, I was introduced to this, give me more. So it's now his job to give you more. So it's it's really how he puts forth the information. I think works. It's very well done.
Thanks, man.
So stop stroking him and tell me what you didn't like about it.
I liked a lot about it. The movement, that was a big question. The stance, man. I gave it the good old college try, man. I did, every chance I got. Even today, I got on the range for a little bit, and I was, working on that binding type stance that he introduced, and it's just different. It's it's not necessarily my thing, And the other thing was, let's see. Well, I had one criticism, and to Kent's benefit, he fixed it on second day. So we went through, and very first thing that you do in the course is, you do some dry fire. And there's a couple of reasons for doing that, for opening up a class for dry fire. We won't get into that. But it said, okay, guns are dry. Everyone get online and go ahead, and we're going to start doing some dry fire. And it gives them an opportunity to go through and check out a couple of things. Well, my criticism at the end of day one was, hey, I think that went great, but there's no verification from the instructor, from the RSOs, that the firearms were in fact dry. Now, on the national circuit, they don't. They'd say, okay, cool, guns are dry. You guys are big boys. Go do your thing. But, in that class, especially with newer shooters, there's a lot of trust in knowing that the students knew what that meant and would go up there and do that. So I mentioned my my reservations to that at the end of the class, and then Kent said, "Yep, absolutely, I'm going to fix that." And then day two, he fixed it. I mean, there's no questions asked. So I guess that was a criticism on safety, but it really, I don't know if it wasn't done unsafe. It was just, there'd be another step that I would personally do.
So more procedural checks and balances, right?
Yeah.
Trust but verify.
Exactly. Yep. And I think that was my criticism on day one. And again, they fixed it just like that. No questions asked. But it was, it was definitely interesting to be able to see that.
It's awesome to hear the feedback from you guys, and I appreciate you guys not pulling any punches with this.
Oh, man.
I think what's incredibly impressive is that none of it was based on the overall content.
Oh, yeah.
No negative criticism about the overall content. But with that being said, are there any other things about Kent's class that you think we need to discuss, that you think the folks at home and the folks listening on the podcast might benefit from?
Can I interject real quick while they're thinking?
No.
Okay.
Yes. What's up, man?
Anybody who ever takes one of my classes, you don't have to be Apache Solutions, Joel Trey, Frank, anybody special. If you have any level of concern or anything you'd like to see changed or done differently, say so, man. Those dudes brought that up to me, and I was like, Jesus, you're right. 100% agree with you. And I integrated it like immediately into my POI. I went and wrote a spot in my POI right that minute, just like what Joel Trey just said. The word explosive, I wrote that down too. I may or may not take your feedback, or I may or may not do it exactly the way you think, but I'll always consider it, because if you're not doing that, I don't want to train you.
Right.
So please, anybody who ever has feedback like that, I want to hear it.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's not just for your course in particular. I mean, that's any instructor that's worth their salt. We went and did AVD a couple weekends ago, and that's the same thing that Phil said. He said, I cannot tell you how much that this course has changed. I remember firsthand, I was in one of the first EDC courses that Apache had put on, and it has changed so much. The monster it was once upon a time ago is not the monster it is today. It's ever evolving. And I think any instructor or group that's worth their salt do exactly that, right? So they take the criticism with the praise, and they work something out. Personally, like as far as content goes, there's everything that he said was absolutely on point. Everything gelled very well. There's difference in opinion. Excuse me. There's differences in opinion on some stuff, but that's exactly what it is, right? It's a difference in opinion. So just like, conversation that Kent and I have had before, you take, and actually I think TJ, we were talking about it before the show. You can take a piece of the pie from, this instructor, piece from this instructor, piece from an instructor, and you kind of, what works well for you and what are you going to train with and what works well together. So you can take a chunk of, skills and you chunk them all together and you train that way. And, at the end, you become a really proficient shooter, an excelling shooter because of it. So, it was just mirroring what Trey said earlier. There's a lot of really neat things that I got to observe that we're saying the same things, really, right? Like 80% of class it's pretty much the same thing. But, versus, what I would teach. But at the same time, there's it's taught a different way. And that different way is, it's absolutely useful, not just to a student, but to somebody like me. I'm an aspiring instructor. It's I'm something that I'm working towards. I'm working at, and trying to find how to say something 1,000 different ways. Well, throughout the course of the class, Kent gave me another way or a few other ways of saying the same thing. So that was very, very helpful, very educational for me.
Yeah, and past the differences in opinion, I mean, he changed a couple of things on me at a fundamental level, like my collection right here with the wave. I mean, I consider that a fundamental level.
Part
technique.
Part of your grip,
right?
Yeah.
And that completely got changed. And then the difference in opinions, like we're not so sure we're gonna run up the reloads, the hitting from reloads, but with the difference in the grip, and then also stance. Frank's a little more reserved in that than I am, but I think I like the stance better. So I definitely got more things changed in a positive way than maybe different opinions.
Yeah, no, that's all fantastic. And hey, different strokes for different folks.
Right.
Kent, I know, will be the first one to tell you if you don't like what he's teaching, or any instructor for that matter, don't rest on your laurels and just, I had this one instructor I went to, I didn't like the way he or she taught X, right? Okay, store that in the back of your nugget as still a skill that was taught to you.
Oh yeah, big
and
time.
Use that as motivation to go find another instructor and be like, okay, so Kent or Jedi or whoever taught me this way back when. Now this person's telling me this. I like this a little better. Or optimally, you can connect the dots and put elements from what Kent taught you and what this new person taught you and form your own technique.
Right.
That is the mark of a good student.
Right.
So real quick, I do want to pause to give a quick shout out to Daytona, Mikey, and Brendan. Mig Bustin in the chat, or Mig Butson in the chat, is a longtime listener. We know that he has been supporting the podcast for quite some time, and we're happy that he and his children could be watching. I say children loosely. They are young adults. He and I talk back and forth on social media quite a bit, and he is raising a fantastic group of kids there. Teaching them right, teaching them responsible firearms ownership and handling. And it's awesome to still see those qualities in America. So Mike, keep doing what you're doing, man. With that being said, and he posted a question earlier in the chat, with respect to the essentials of concealed carry, Kate, you'll be the first one to admit that there's no real secret sauce to these essentials, right? While they are the top 10 that you think that people should have.
They're just my priorities.
Right. They're just the list based on your prioritization. For somebody who is either looking for or has reached a level to teach their own children some of these fundamentals, what are some things that we can specifically cater or focus on or prioritize for the younger novice gun owner or responsible gun handler, right? Are there any one of these top 10 or maybe an 11 or 12 or 13 that would benefit that 18, 19, or 20-year-old shooter as they continue on their path to firearms proficiency?
You know what? I think that's a great question for Mr. Joel Trey over here. Because believe this or not, Joel Trey is still kind of a young adult himself. He comes off and carries himself and conducts himself as a guy who's our age, but candidly he's about 10 years younger than most of us, or a little more. So you remember what it was like to be a new, young, aspiring gun owner? Because, dude, you very recently were one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So much respect to you for the way you carry yourself and the way you handle yourself. And, I'm blown away by that because I was not you at 23. I'll tell you that right now. That said, what do you think their priorities should be for a younger gun owner?
I think first and foremost, even if you can go back before you buy a gun, is just to find some training that you think is safe and from a good place. When I first got a gun, I'd been shooting shotguns and rifles for most of my life, or handgun. I've been shooting shotguns and rifles for most of my life, so I thought that, it's just a pistol. It's the same thing. Click, pull the trigger, it goes boom. And I thought it was an okay shot. And years went on without me realizing how to shoot a gun. I never knew what I was doing, right or wrong. So just in the fundamentals of how to handle one is something that you never know unless you find somebody really knowledgeable to instruct you. And then safety is probably the biggest thing, man. I always consider myself safe, and then looking back on what I used to do, I would cringe. I would beat myself up if I saw myself doing what I did back then now. It's just, if you don't know any better, you don't know any better. So I get a lot out of that too. And then honestly, from my experience with training, and I'm relatively new to it, been in it for about 2 years or so, the people you meet and the people you meet that push you to grow as people, as shooters, just the community is awesome. So you get the safety, you get the training and know how to use your firearm, and then you get awesome people. So there's a lot that goes into it. I've been through high school, through college, through race cars. Dirt bikes, anything I've ever done, I've never met so many people that will, such high-caliber people that push you and make you better. So those are probably my top 3 reasons to have a new shooter train.
Yeah. So if I could interject here, I think, and Kent, you and I have complained to each other on the phone about this a lot, but as a father myself, I want to if I don't get anything across to my kids when it comes to firearms handling, aside from being safe, obviously I want to drill that into their head like there's no tomorrow. But the one thing that I want them to take away from my time with them on the range is this: I am not perfect. What I am teaching you is not always going to be the 100% right answer. Seek training from qualified instructors. I think one of the greatest things that you can teach your children is how to find quality instructors and know who's full of shit and who isn't. Because one of the things that all of us that have spent time, as instructors to one point or another, have all come across, hell, maybe not even as an instructor, maybe just in general conversation at the range with another shooter, you always come across these people that are like, oh, well, my daddy or my granddaddy taught me this, and damn it, that's the way it's going to be. I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer.
Right.
Teach them to be open to new concepts, to seek out quality instruction, and always be thirsty for that knowledge and building those skill sets. So that's what I would convey. Naturally, teach them that safety, but teach them how to find a good instructor and not just stop learning.
Yeah. And start young. So I really, I'm really passionate about teaching kids, mature kids, firearm safety and how to be around guns and how to run a gun. We've had a couple of kids that have trained at Apache, and I say train like they're 8-ish, 9. They're mature. Start with the fundamentals. First thing that we start off is fundamental safety rules. and what are our fundamental safety rules? And before each and every time they touch that gun, we go, hey, man, cool. So what are our safety rules? And they'll boop, boop, boop. They'll spit them right out. And, what's kind of neat is watching that progression from being literally scared, of a handgun or a rifle, and then watching that natural progression of getting a little more comfortable, a little more comfortable, a little more comfortable. And next thing you know, the kid is running down to come meet us, and the parent is way back there lagging because they want to get down there and they want to start their session. They want to start training. So I really, really, really enjoy it. But at the same time, that's little kids. As it starts, progressing, as you start getting a little bit more, older, or you're, that 19, 20, you're starting to get into working on concealed carry and stuff like that. Again, I'd emphasize, safety is a big part of it, but also developing those personality traits that don't allow you to have a big ego. It's, knowledge, skills, and attitude. We can help share the skill. We can help teach the knowledge, but that attitude is what the other person has to bring. And, that is such a big part of what we do. And, if you have a poor attitude, then you're not going to come and you're not going to have the ability to really get much out of the instruction. So, yeah, it's, starting young is, firsthand phenomenal way of moving forward and, getting into the sport.
So now comes probably my favorite topic, considering what we started this discussion with, and that was the scenario with colloquially, Karen and Ken, the people who defended their house from the angry mob or protesters, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to use this term very loosely, so bear with me here. But is there a benefit, and do you believe that quote-unquote small unit tactics, i.e. moving around other people with firearms who are moving towards the same goal as you, should be taught in a fundamentals class? Okay, I see everybody shaking their head. Kent, I want to hear it from you first, man.
Beyond my depth, go find Tim Kelly for that. I've never moved in a small unit and communicated tactically.
Now, keep in mind, I'm not referring to stacking up on a door and setting a breaching charge, right? That would, by the way, that would be fucking epic. But,
right.
But like Kent, if you and I are on the range together, and I disagree. I think you know more about that than you might admit to.
But I may know more, but I don't consider myself qualified to teach it.
No, and that's fine.
Just being honest. I mean, I have taken training like that in the past, and yeah, dude, you and me, let's go to the shoot house in Alliance sometime and do a bunch of reps. I think that would be highly valuable to us.
But aside from whether or not the instructor feels or is not qualified,
right? Is
that something that should be taught in a fundamentals course?
Not in the fundamentals course now.
If that's the case, and of course Trey and Frank will get to you as well. If not in a fundamentals course, then at what place or what level do you think that those types of skills should be taught?
So I'll say this and then I'll shut up. For me, Welcome to Walmart is about the farthest I'm going to stretch that. And we saw a gentleman who had never had a holster on this weekend handle Welcome to Walmart safely, right? He did very well this weekend, but I'm not so arrogant as to say that I taught him to the point where he has anchored any of those skills.
Correct.
Right? Like that would be silly for me to try to make such a claim. So if he hasn't anchored his basic fundamental safety skills to the point that, I had to coach him stepwise through a scenario like that to show him what it was like. And I believe there's training value in that. Some would see that and would argue with me and say that, that was even beyond the depth of a basic essential student. But, I politely disagree. I am not going to take students who don't know each other and ask them to trust each other in such a dynamic environment. If you and I, dude, we're gonna be together a lot in the future. We've started business together, all this stuff. We're gonna be around each other and our families, et cetera, et cetera. I would immediately put myself in danger to save your wife and your children. I know you do the same for mine. We are literally a team. If we're gonna work together in that way and we trust each other and we're gonna do stuff like that, shit, yeah, I'm down 100%. Never in a million years where I say, TJ, this is Frank. Frank, this is TJ. I know you dudes don't know shit about each other, but you're on team A and you're on team B, and you're going left to take the deep corner and you're going straight to take a point of domination, right? Wait, what? What the hell does that mean? And
right.
B, no, not for me. Not at that level. I think the person needs to have anchored fundamental safety skills and gun handling skills to the point where they can maybe like an A-class competitor or a expert class competitor, an IDPA, USPSA, just to give you something that you can like throw a dart at.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a solid metric.
Somebody who can run a competition stage 90% out of 9 times out of 10 without shit. We all get DQ'd in competition. There's 1,000 stupid rules, but you don't very often see an A-class competitor or an expert class IDPA competitor swing a muzzle into somebody accidentally on the range, or biff and DQ, accidental discharge a handgun or something like that. So, I think crawl, walk, run is in full effect here, and you got people chewing bubble gum, handling guns drawn from the holster, and oh, by the way, let's talk geometry. I think that's one step above what those folks need. And the only reason I show it is just to, take the YouTube commandos out of the world and show them just how terrible their life choices would really be if they decide to go try to be the hero all the time. That's my only teaching metric for what I did show. I showed some very simple, what does pieing a corner look like? What does the deep corner look like? And where do you have to make a choice? That's all I'm going to talk about in a class at that level. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So Trey, what about you, man? So you're going through this class. What are your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I don't think it really has a place in a fundamentals class. Just in that class in particular, there's 2 guys in that class I would have trusted to do that with me. And past that, there's not. I think. I mean, the people in total I can count that I would trust to do that with me, or one hand, maybe a couple of digits in the next. And I don't see a whole lot of practical use for it, really. I don't think that the odds of you having to stack up and go through Walmart and clear it out or whatever, it's a pretty slim to none scenario. I mean, at that point, I think it's more important to start thinking about getting out of there than trying to get a squad to something that you have no business fighting. Wait for the professionals to get there. I just think of things like you said, like an A-level shooter, something like that, a pretty competent level shooter to start running something like that, and a lot of trust between the people running that drill together. So I think maybe even having classes before that to build up to that would be helpful for me.
Okay. Now, Frank, before we get over to you, Tim, the head honcho at Apache Solutions, is mentioning prioritizing practicality. So please include this into your answer.
So it's really funny how often Tim and I are like on the same wavelength. We're not even paying attention to something, or I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to talk about this, and Tim's like, Christ, man, we're already there. So anyway, prioritizing practicality. How practical is it to run small squad stuff, in your everyday life? Like if you run with a group of badass dudes, then every day, like you're in a work crew or something like that, maybe that's practical for you. But for me and mine, I'm usually alone. Very rarely do I have, other guys, other people that I train with, other group of individuals that are at similar skill sets or somewhere there that, I would be able to trust to do something like that. And then at the same time, how practical is it that we're going to run up against something like that where we're going to need to be able to use these skill sets to take care of whatever said problem? More than likely what's going to happen is, if we were to roll up on some sort of problem like that, we're just going to tuck tail and run because it's not our fight. Like it's not something that we would need to put our lives in danger for unduly. I got a family back home that I need to make sure that I get back to. But so how practical is it? How practical is it for you to run, these go fast, the high speed, low drag classes, and in your everyday life as far as the actual application? I'm not saying there's not skills there to be learned. 100%, no questions asked. I've had an opportunity taking some, high speed, low drag classes similar to that, and I've learned a ton of stuff. A lot of really good information there. But at the same time, when am I going to be able to use that? It is a shit sandwich the day you have to do, single man room clearing and stuff like that. That sucks. That's a bad day. And what makes it even worse is compounding that with other people and other things and other stuff that, you don't have control over. It's a bad way of looking at it. So, as far as practicality goes, I don't really see the it's fun, it's a lot of fun, but I don't see the practical use of it, on a day-to-day basis. It's not something that I would suggest, or something that I would lean to, or something I would go out of my way to focus on. Now, and I mentioned in chat that I'd squeeze this in there. Something that was done very well over the course of the class was, Kent's ability to pay attention to each individual student a piece at a time. So as we were going through, the course of the class, the Welcome to Walmart, at the end of the day, every single person ran that with only one person at a time, and they ran it with Kent. And while they were running it, or after they were running it, Kent was able to say, "Hey, you did this good. This was horrible. Don't ever do that again." And this is something that we could do a little bit better. This is something that you get. Oh yeah, knife at it, boom. But so his ability to be able to break that out and to talk and give feedback back to each individual student was top notch. It was perfect.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. That's something that I've focused very, very heavily on. So nice to hear it. Nice to hear it comes out in the class. And another thing that really means a lot to me is to see people improve and succeed. And now that we've been ripping on Biscuit like nobody's business for the last 45 minutes, here he comes in the chat, which means we must have been at least nice enough to get him to come back. So just right quick, like, while you can hear this, man, you had never had a holster on your non-existent belt before rolling into class. Dude don't even wear a belt. Screw a holster. You don't even wear a belt. He's like, "Yo, I'm Biscuit. I don't need no belt." What up, fam? Dude, you did fantastic. So I just want to always be so encouraging. I love to see people make gained improvement. So good for you, dude. We're gonna razz you the rest of the time. Don't think that can get mad.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh yeah. Welcome to the Sling'N podcast. No one is safe.
No one is safe. He doesn't wear pants to work, says Rich. Well, that explains a lot. I mean, why he doesn't have no belt. Awesome, dude. So let's see what else. Oh, I'm gonna shut up. I'm not hosting this one. I'm sorry, TJ.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Let's see here. Despite your collective experiences this past weekend, or at least your experiences leading up to that weekend, right? What do you feel that you walked away from thinking, at least fundamentally, that you still need to work on? Frank, let's start with you.
Definitely gross sight picture. There were times where there's one day one in particular, I 100% got in my own head. We were working, I think we were doing 3-2 or single shot. Anyway, I don't remember. We're doing a particular drill and drawing from the holster, putting shots on target. And man, I was struggling to break that 2-second mark, and I was all up in here, man. I was really fighting on that.
Well, see, what you needed was a 250-pound ginger gorilla yelling at you from about 15 yards back,
right,
saying,
right.
"Fuck that, go faster!"
Right. So I was definitely in my head. I was overthinking.
I was doing some yelling. Was I not doing some yelling?
Oh yeah, he was doing some yelling. Just screaming at me. But I was definitely stuck in my own head. And something that it was a combination of things. So in my own personal training, and this is Frank's training, Frank's my own personal thing. I spent a lot of time focusing on that perfect shot, right? Having everything aligned, having the stars aligned just perfect, so that I can really focus on there's my dot, it's right on my target. I pressed out, and it's just perfect each and every time. But my problem is I've been doing that in between the 3 and the 10 also, not just out at distance. So the problem, there's a good difference between, acceptable sight picture and not. And there's one of the things where I would draw and I'd press out on target, and, I may or may not have seen my sight. But on top of that, I'd have some trigger freeze, and I'd be out there. I'm like, I'm not going to press a shot because it's not perfect. It was still making good time. But at the same time, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I could do more. I could go faster. I could be more proficient with my own personal shooting if I could get over that. And that was something that I got on the range a little bit today, and I practiced. And it's something that I'm going to continue to practice until I conquer it. And I'm definitely walking away with that. I'm walking away with the ability of or the knowledge to say, okay, man, I'm at 3 yards. There's no point. There's no reason why I need to have everything perfect, because I have this big, awesome back plate. I have this ghost string of my RMR. I don't, as short of me having something really janky with my grip, man, I'm going to hit my target, especially at 3 yards. And I need to stop focusing on it being so absolutely perfect. And I just need to focus on, okay, I'm close enough and it's acceptable. What's deviation at 3 yards? Freaking nothing. All right. What's your deviation at 10? It's a little more than 3, but it's still nothing. So getting that out of my head and really focusing on making sure I'm hitting that target, quickly and efficiently, that's something that I personally need to work on. That's something I'm going to continue to work on. And that's something I'm definitely walking away from the course with, was not just through the course, but just through, Kent's friendship, going through and saying, hey, I need to get out of my own head here. I need to stop focusing so much on this. It's important. It's definitely fundamental as far as accuracy and everything goes. But I'm to the point now where I can shoot pretty accurately, but I'm shooting pretty accurately pretty slowly. I need to start blending the two.
Outstanding. Very, very good feedback on that. And I think that's something that a lot of our listeners could probably take away from. I'll tell my own story on that here in a second, but I want to get the Trey. What of anything from this weekend did you walk away from, even not understanding? Remember, we're sitting, we got to set the references here. You already know what you're doing, right? You're very skilled, very safe, proficient, but you still showed up to Kent's, fundamentals or essentials of concealed carry. What, if anything, did you take away from that class that you feel like you need to work on?
So one thing I'm learning, the first time I noticed it was actually back in the AVD class a couple weeks ago, but it showed back up in Kent's class, is when you put me under a timer or under some stress, my left hand just it just falls off. My left hand grip pressure just goes away. And I haven't quite figured out how to fix that. I think really trying to figure out how to use the wave properly will help me a lot. Every time I really think about it and really apply the wave, it seems to be a lot less of an issue. That's probably the biggest thing for me. And then the other fundamental that I found that I need some work on is trigger reset. I'm real bad about putting the shot brake and just pinning the trigger to the rear. And
I'm sorry, Kent looks like he's going to explode, but please continue.
I'm really bad about pulling the trigger, the shot brake, and then holding the trigger to the rear, and waiting till I regather my sight picture, sight alignment, and everything, and then just slowly letting off my trigger until click for a reset, and then starting the process all over again. He can't hammer it at me. Tim and Frank are both hammering on me for it. I really need to focus on resetting the trigger during recoil. So having it reset before I even get my sights back on.
Reset and recovery.
Yeah, reset and recovery. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So Kent, since you were ready to explode out of your chair, go ahead.
No, he covered it.
Yeah. Okay.
What did I miss?
The only thing I will say is that, and TJ and I talk about this all the time, right? Oftentimes you get stuck in the routine that you're giving your students, and it creeps into your own shooting.
Yeah.
So if you dudes are giving your students that pin the trigger and reset to help diagnose accuracy and grip and other issues, and you're saying that shit to other people 3,721 times a week, it's real hard to get that crap out from between your ears when it's time for you to go shoot and when it's time to let Ricky Bobby out.
Yeah.
That's how I know. Like, been there, played that game.
Yep. I'm 100% there. That came out specifically, that one instance that absolutely came out this weekend for me. And like I said, I was stuck in my own head. It was one of the things where I knew what I needed to do, but knowing what I needed to do and performing there was a little bit of there was a big disconnect there. And again, I'm not saying I shot bad, but it was one of the things where I know I could do better.
Even like a subconscious level. I mean, I've had it happen before quite a few times with the trigger reset, but I was never put into words, and I never really noticed it that much. Whereas, like, you'd be trying to have a fast cadence, and your finger would just get stuck, and you can't do anything with it for a split second. And once can't explain this from the holding trigger to the rear, it all kind of made sense, and it started to go away as we started to get rid of the holding trigger to the rear. So it even subconsciously kind of rewires you a little bit.
Right.
Well, outstanding. So the part of it, and Frank, to your point about clearing your mind, I'm gonna steal a line from our beloved Jedi, and he mentions he actually talks on this topic during his class, and for those that have seen it, the movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, when he is spending his time in the camp or in the village, and he's learning sword play or how to sword fight. The prince or the son of the village elder comes over to him and says, "Too many mind." Essentially, you're thinking about everything other than what you should be focusing on, which is the task at hand. And the way he conveyed that and explained that, I realized that, Frank, to your point, I suffered a lot from the same problems that you did. And that was just getting out of your own head and focusing on exactly what you're doing. This is going to sound really cheesy, but visualize an attack, right? And I've heard, who was it? It wasn't Bob Vogel. There's another very well known, and for some reason his mind is escaping me, or his name is escaping my mind right now. But he mentions before he runs a stage in a competition, he doesn't think about anything else. He envisions what he's going to do for that particular stage, and that is all he focuses on. And when you commit it to your imagination properly, executing on exactly how you formulated that plan in your head magically comes to fruition. So just being able to focus on exactly what you need to do when you need to do it, and don't worry about anything else. It's hot. It sucks. I'm sweating. It's raining. It's cold. Kent's watching me. TJ's going to yell at me, right? Empty your head. Focus on what you need to do, and damn it, go faster. So we did get the question. So I am fiddling with a acrylic pyramid that my wife made. So I realize if I don't have something to mess with during the podcast, I'm sitting here doing I'm in a spinny chair, so I end up my ADD takes over. So by having my own fidget spinner, yep.
I tried to use some Velcro, but Frank yelled at me.
Someone's gonna get whacked. That's
Stop it.
that vein in your neck is sticking out, Frank. But yeah, so no, that I think that's it. That's important. Kent, I love you, buddy. I'm gonna promote your classes all day long. But aside from Kent's classes, if you have not, or if you haven't considered it, take a class from Jedi as well.
Oh, dude.
He has been on this show for a reason, and we reference him frequently for a reason because, well, he is Jedi. He is mine and Kent's master when it comes to all things learning. So
I still don't have a key to the temple. Them sons of bitches. They gave me a lightsaber that's like this long, and I don't have a key to the temple.
you're just stuck opening letters with it.
Pretty much.
It's a lightsaber letter opener.
You said it. You said it now, so I'll tackle it now. But I was going to tackle it earlier. Look, man. Sincere thank you to my mentors and teachers and friends and people who have brought me to where I am. But this 70, 80, 90% of this is an amalgamation from really amazing feedback and information and help and training I've gotten from other people. And some of them are world-class, nationally renowned trainers, and some of them are just dudes that whooped my ass in a competition and said, "Yo, come here a minute, let me show you something." So, yeah, nobody's over here building a pyramid or anything like that. I'm not the dude at the top of anyone's food chain. I'm just trying to deliver good information to good people. So, please, for the love of God, train with all those people. Train with everybody we've had on this show. And once you get through all them, email me and I'll give you another 10. Like, for reals. And train with Apache Solutions like yesterday. Now would be good. Right now. Go do that. Yeah. I hate that whole one instructor mentality or my guy or my guru. I don't want to be anyone's guru. Hell, I can't even spell guru and I can't say it right half the time. Not for me. Hold on, I'm just catching up.
Well, it's just about diversity, right? So, that's one of the nice things about us coming up and learning from Kent is we like Kent. Kent's real special to our heart, but it's not because of Kent then we went and took a class from him, right? It's part of that diversity about going out and training with other people. Mm-hmm. Kent was just next on my list. I went and I got that checkbox. I'm coming back. It's one of the things where it's any student that's worth their salt is going to go out and they're going to get instruction from multiple different places, and or they're going to train with somebody and then they're going to venture out. Then they're going to get more instruction. Then they're going to bring that back, and there's going to be a lot of give and take there. But that's the only way that you're going to get better. It's very easy, and I've seen it firsthand. It's very easy to get stuck in your own ecosphere. You are living, breathing, drinking the same Kool-Aid from the same place, and you get stuck on that mantra like this is the way, this is perfect, this is the only way that there is out there for this thing to work, and then you'll get your world rocked by some other guy or gal who can outshoot you 1,000 times a Sunday, and they have a completely different way and a completely different way of going about doing something. So, I absolutely 100%, and we encourage all of our students that come out to Apache to do exactly that. Diversify with caution, right? There's a lot of people out there that I would, unfortunately, just as of in any in any industry, there's some farces out there. There's some people that I'd be like, okay, I would honestly, I'd recommend steering away from that. Not because they teach something different, but because they could be unsafe. We care a lot about, our students, and we care a lot about, on a personal level. We care a lot about, people that, we train with, and we want to make sure that we're, that trainer, whoever that we're sending them to, is going to give them the absolute best, knowledge, absolute best in safety, because again, they're our students. They're our people. So I would consider Kent to absolutely be one of these people that I wouldn't hesitate sending one of our students to for training, and
definitely encourage it.
I'd absolutely encourage it. And but and at the same time, I know without a shadow of doubt, Kent would say the same thing. So there's a lot of good things that are out there, but again, just be cautious, because there's a lot of other, no names, but there's a lot of other instructors that can do more harm than good also.
Absolutely. So we are coming up to the 90-minute mark. So I think we've come to a point in the show where we can ask probably the most crucial question about a particular instructor that you might recommend. So a lot of people have asked Kent and I, who we would recommend. And one of our key metrics for whether or not an instructor makes that cut is, would we feel comfortable sending our own family to that instructor? So I'm going to pose the question to you guys here and now. Not worried about hurting Kent's feelings. He might cry in the shower later, like recreate the crying game scene. But I'm going to ask you guys straight up. Would you send your family members to train with Kent?
Absolutely.
Without hesitation.
Without a doubt.
And I think that summarizes it beautifully, man. I think that summarizes it perfectly. So with that, as I mentioned, we are coming up to that 90-minute mark. So closing comments, Trey and Frank, what do you guys got going on with Apache? What are you guys working on? What's coming up on your calendar?
We got a ton of classes and stuff that's coming up here in the near future. It's almost like we've done this before, and I should have a list of stuff in front of me, but I don't. But I would be remiss not to mention we got some courses I think up in August that's coming up. Let's see, August. We're doing August 8th. We're doing a basic pistol course. I think August 22nd, 23rd, handgun combatives. That's a big one that's coming up. It's a combative pistol course. So if that's taught by Tim Kelly and Dan Brady. They're under the Dave Spalding methodology. It's a Dave Spalding course. That's an awesome class. If you haven't taken it, I'd absolutely suggest that. So that's pretty much what's coming up. I have heard through the grapevine that we've gotten some other hosting. We're hosting some instructors at Apache coming up. Got some dates in December. I think we got Jedi next year, Halloween of next year, something like that. I don't know if that's public, but it is now. I just saw in October we have our AEDC course, which is kind of our advanced. I don't like the word advanced, but it's our continuation of our EDC of our normal EDC course.
The first one.
It's the 10th and 11th of October. Anyway, good things. Check us out on the web. That's ApacheNC.com.
Vigor training. Did you mention Vigor?
Yeah, Vigor. They're coming out. Phil Groth. They're coming out in December. So do it now.
December 19th.
19th. Yep. You're coming down for that, right, Kent?
Sure am.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So that'll be good. Check us out on the web. We have a lot of information. We have our Eventbrite and everything. All the information's on our website, but Eventbrite's where we're hosting a lot of classes and stuff. So stop by, check us out. At ApacheSolutionsLC.com on all the stuff, Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz. And man, we'll be floating around here.
Outstanding. Well, we really appreciate you guys coming on the show once again. You know, you guys are friends of the podcast. You're welcome here anytime. And damn it, we love you for it. So thank you guys for participating.
Yeah, anytime.
Kent, who has been patiently waiting with bated breath this entire time while we have been judging him. What do you got going on, man?
Dude, I feel like Marlon Brando at a roast or some shit. This is incredible. Honored, humbled, and blessed, y'all. Just happy to be here and doing this. Means the world to me that you guys saw enough value to come and drive 14 hours and give up weekends and give up days away with family and days away with the people you care about and days at work and days all candid seriousness, dude. Fuck the money. But like that time, you'll never get that time back. So if you see value in me that you're going to put that much time into coming and spending it with me and doing as much to help as you guys did and doing as much, just right quick. Frank done taught one of my private lessons, like for realties. Frank taught
I hijacked one of his private lessons.
Frank, can I? But I was like, dude, go. Yeah, it's good deal. It's fine. These dudes rolled up here, paid their money, and worked. Like, put in work. Not just put in work from a class perspective, but from instructor to instructor, you can see when somebody needs something, and there was more than just. I mean, and also, kudos to Rich for coming out in RSO and stuff. There were 4 of us on that line that day that wanted to give people stuff. Truly, that had something to give, had something to share, and wanted to give it. And all of a sudden, it turns into way more of a collaborative effort and way less of a, me up there giving you the gospel of John Moses Browning and Gaston Glock. And that's incredibly valuable stuff. And you know, that whole family thing, that would you send your family to me or not thing, that's my ultimate question. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. And hell, Frank taught my wife a private lesson in our goddamn dining room, like for real. So yeah, I would send that. That's a two-way street. I would send mine to you guys just as well as you would send yours to me, and that's all we can really talk about. GreenMountainDefense.com/training. A lot of cool stuff going on this the rest of the summer. A lot of cool hosting announcements and all that. So everything that's hosted for the rest of this summer is full. But we've got Jedi coming back twice, and I'm sure we'll have Timmy coming back. We'll redo Ashton's class that got overbooked, and stay tuned for – or not overbooked, got COVID screwed over, whatever. And stay tuned for a couple other awesome training announcements and things like that. Look, dudes, this is social media. Like, favorite, subscribe, and shares are currencies. Please go find these guys on Instagram. Please find Apache Solutions and these guys as individuals, and give them the love and encouragement they deserve. There's a lot of really, really good information out there, and there's 10 times more bullshit. So if you want to increase the signal on the good stuff, and we hope to be a small part of the good stuff, support us, support the good sources, and help us get this content out there. Really just feeling blessed and honored that anybody gives a shit at all about what my training looks like or what kind of an AAR somebody would put out. So really, really appreciate all that. And yeah, that's all. TJ, you want to do our ad reads and stuff?
Yeah, man. As always, it's a pleasure to have all of you in the chat. We appreciate a lively chat room, so please never hesitate to post your questions, comments, and participate along in the live show with us. If you by chance missed a live show, you can catch us on your favorite podcast streamer. I promise you we are there. Generally, the show is live on the streamer or the respective streamers within the week. Sadly, I've been kind of lacking at that, so shame on me, Bad Ginger. No donut. I apologize. Please forgive me. With that being said, folks, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our charities. Of course, we have Racheal's Rest that we're currently donating any and all proceeds from our T-shirt sales for the month of June. Today is the last day for that. So please go purchase yourself a Sling'N Led podcast T-shirt from our Teespring store. Again, link is in the description down below. I will be pulling the money from that and donating it directly to Racheal's Rest. Again, that is a charity for survivors of hostile domestic situations. The full details and the link to that charity are in the description down below. Of course, we would also appreciate you guys to support the Hold My Guns charity or nonprofit. Sarah and Genevieve have done a fantastic job with a fantastic idea to give people an adequate and safe and reliable avenue to seek any mental help that they might need to be seeking. If that means taking a break from having access to lethal means in your home, rather than enabling the illegal and tyrannical red flag laws to run their course, we as responsible individuals can leverage the Hold My Guns organization to find a participating FFL nearby, and we can go surrender our firearms under respective consignment laws in accordance with ATF regulations. It's a fantastic program. I invite you all to go check that out. Holdmyguns.org, or if you want to contribute monetarily, you can go to GoFundMe and search for HMG.org. All together, just the acronym, because, well, frankly, GoFundMe's anti-Second Amendment, but otherwise they're a pretty good resource for things like this. With that being said, of course, we want to give a shout out to Right On Optics. Kent and I are proud pro staff members of the Right On Optics family. RightOnOptics.com for all of your red dot, variable power scope, and binocular needs. We would not be responsible gun owners if we didn't also recommend medical equipment. So head on over to darkangelmedical.com and check out their IFAKs, their vehicle medical pouches, their family-sized medical pouches are for built for groups of people. Absolutely fantastic resources. And code BB15, that's Bravo 15 at checkout, will get you 15% off your order. We get no kickbacks from that. We just love show and carry some love. So please just mention in the comments section that the Sling'N Led podcast sent you. Check out my articles on thegunpointblog.com. I have been writing there. I do need to start that back up, but I do have some fantastic articles there. Also, speaking of articles, Kent has blog posts on his website. Once again, that's greenmountaindefense.com. You can go on over to his site and check out all of his creative writings. I apologize if they were in crayon, but you got to give him some hope that he's going to do well with this, right, folks? Love you, buddy. But of course, we love you all. We really appreciate the patronage. What did I forget this time?
You didn't forget anything because I didn't tell you.
Okay.
But the folks from Apache Solutions did some really cool shit this weekend that they didn't have to do. And I'll spare you the details. But as a result of their generosity, as it turns out, Apache Solutions has paid for 2 classes with Green Mountain Defense for law enforcement officers.
Yep.
In kind of a roundabout sort of way. So if you or somebody you know is an LEO and you'd like to get them in a Green Mountain Defense class, Biscuit, and somebody else, Biscuit, your brother. But no, seriously, two folks who are LEOs, and I don't mean to sound this way or whatever, but need it like financially. If you got some real financial hardships and it's keeping you from getting training and your department budget screwing you over and you can't get out. Like Tim or Frank and Trey did some really, really cool stuff this weekend that they didn't have to do, and they were giving with their time and resources and stuff. So we're going to pay that forward in the best way we could think of. And we were drinking beers while we thought of it. So this is the way we thought of it. So 2 free classes for an LEO at Green Mountain Defense. I will we'll leave it up to y'all to figure out who you are. But yeah, that's all. So sponsored by Apache Solutions, 2 free LEO classes.
Outstanding. Yeah, for those that don't know, law enforcement organizations do not get the training that, at least from my perspective, need. It's very basic. Think very military style of training. It's bare minimum state standards. Very few departments try to exceed those standards. There are some that do. This is for many reasons: time, resources, budgetary restrictions, things like that. So we know that cops really don't get paid a whole lot. So anytime we get a chance to get some Leos out on the range and help them be better at their jobs and more responsible and capable with the tools of their trade, that's just better for everybody all around. So from the Sling'N led podcast and somewhat on behalf of Green Mountain Defense, thank you guys for that contribution. That's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
But as Ken said, if you're new to the channel, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, have them come in on the podcast, join us in the live chat. We'd love to take their questions and educate you all collectively. Also, feel free to find us on Facebook. The Sling'N led podcast has its own Facebook page. We can also take your comments and questions there, and we'll curate them here on the show. Until we see each other again, God bless you all. Take care of each other and get out and shoot.